Hi, myself is Krishna. I work on data analysis projects. In the current presentation, I am going to discuss about the Andhra Pradesh state digital infrastructure of government as well as government aided schools. Let's take a look into it. Upgradation is a need of the hour in the global market. How we are going to upgrade, in which areas we are going to upgrade, we are going to discuss about these things in this presentation. So the most important part is upgradation of the existing middle as well as second level schools in order to get acquainted with them in upcoming technologies like AI is the most important subject. Also, how to upgrade? We need to have a dedicated ICT labs. Many government schools have ICT labs, but only some of them are functional. So strict implementation of functional ICT labs is also necessary. And in addition to that, using computer as a tool to teach to children is one phenomenon, whereas having a dedicated computer science subjects like QBasic, C, as well as subjects regarding code, logical thinking, reasoning should also be implemented in order for the schools from the government schools to compete in the global as well as national markets. So, in order to do so, a curriculum has to be prepared for the school children in middle as well as second level itself to be able to do all the code and logical thinking skills. In doing so, we cannot burden the existing school teachers with digitalization as well as app-related activities. Hence, we need to use existing manpower in the government to implement the above said fields and to impart digital knowledge to the school children. So, for upgradation of the existing facilities, it is necessary to retrospect the currently available infrastructure in schools. So, as a part of retrospection, data analysis has to be done with the current data. So, authentic data of the state infrastructure in all the schools is published as a report. It's an open source report by Government of India, Department of Schools. We can see the link here. So even though if you type in Google about UDIS Plus, we can have the report of infrastructure in all the schools, public as well as private schools of India. In India, the current video is done with the data of UDIS Plus report for the year 23-24 of the new education policy. So this report gives us a well-structured data of all the states regarding public schools, private schools, infrastructure, teachers, gross enrollment ratio, pupil-teacher ratio, dropout ratio. Also, we have many. The UDIS Plus report have many things, have many parameters. But this current analysis only limited to digitalization as well as soft power empowerment in the school students to face the global competition in tech. So let's take a look. Let's take deep dive into the infrastructure of the state of India as well as Andhra Pradesh. Here we can see that this is a Power BI. I have done the analysis in Power BI. So in order to do the analysis, we need to have some data. I have collected data from different sources and collect and made them into a single file as an Excel workbook. Here we can see the total data of India, AP India Infra, AP Infra, India ICT, and AP ICT. This is a single workbook which I have prepared using all these Excel sheets and clubbed them, and all these Excel sheets have been extracted from the single UDIS report. So this Excel workbook, I have downloaded this Excel workbook and used for analysis. So here we can see the state of schools, the state of digital infrastructure, as well as the state of ICT in Andhra Pradesh as well as India. Here you can see that we have different tables. I've downloaded data from Excel workbook, and all the tables as shown in the Excel workbook can be seen here, and the communication between different tables can be seen with the model view. So there is a AP table, in ICT table, there is a one-to-many relationships between AP and as well as AP ICT table. There is a one-to-many relationship, there is one-to-one relationship, and these tables communicate with each other for us to give the desired results. So here we can see the number of measures in each table. We need in order to get the result, in order to get our graphics and visualizations, we need to write measures. In order to have, for us to know the KPIs, for us to know the total schools ratio as well as student school ratio, we need to write a measure. So these measures are written as shown here: the maximum number of schools, as well as the maximum number of students, as well as the total number of government and government aided schools, the total number of schools percentage, the total schools, that government schools out of the total schools, as well as the student strength ratio, the student strength ratio in government schools compared to private schools. All these will be discussed in further in the next slide. So there is a digital infrastructure. There is a digital infrastructure, and this digital infrastructure is also been gained from AP infra table. So there is a table, and we have AP infra, and this AP infra table we can see that 11 parameters of digital infrastructure for all the schools, government and private schools. For this purpose, I have created a calculated column, and also we have India and AP as well as India ICT. ICT means Information Communication Technology Labs, and even for this purpose, we have a dedicated table, and the table gives us the information about the total number of ICT labs, functional ICT labs, as well as the total number of ICT labs percentage working. Out of the total labs, how many labs are function, and it gives us that. Here we can see that out of total labs of uh, total labs of around 2000, we have only 13% of labs which are functional. So these functional labs, 13% gives us the out of 11,000 schools, only 13% of labs are functional ICT labs. So all these parameters will be discussed in the next slide. uh, Here we can see that there are total of around 61,000 schools in AP, and around 874 to 1,000 people who are studying in these schools. These involves the total schools involves government as well as private schools. Out of these, 46,000 schools are studying in government, and 46,000 schools are government. 15K students, 15K schools are private. In these 46,000 schools, 4176 students are studying in government schools, as well as in 15,000 schools, 4,553 K means thousand. So 4,553 students are studying in private schools. So we can see that out of total schools of 61,000, the government school ratio is 75% of schools are government schools, whereas 25% schools are private schools. In this 75% of government schools, around each school, an average number of students are around 90 students, whereas this 25% of private schools, each school has an average number of 298 to 3, an average of around 300 students per school. Here, from this marked graphic, we can infer that an average of around 30 students are present in a government school, whereas an average of around 300 students are present in private school. So, which means that more number of children are enrolled in private schools rather than government schools. Let's take a look into, let's take a look whether the same situation is present in India too. Well, coming into the state of India, here we can say that there are around 1,472 into 1,000 number of schools of whole government as well as private, out of which 248 million students are studying in government as well as private. Out of these number of schools, around 1,000 into 1,000 number of schools are studying are government schools, as well as 331,000 schools are private schools. And out of which, we can see that out of this, around 75% of schools are government schools, and 25% of private schools. This 75% of government schools, each school is catering around 140 students, whereas 25% of private schools, each school is catering around 270 students. So here we can also see that the whole of India resembles the similar thing as well as AP, which means more number of people are studying in private schools compared to government schools. In this dashboard, we can observe that around 8 million total number of students in government of AP, 4 million are enrolled in government school and government aided schools, which is roughly an approximate of around 48%, and 52% of schools are enrolled in private schools. Similarly, out of total schools are running, 75% of government schools, 75% out of total schools running, 75% of government schools are catering around 90% of students, as well as 25, as we discussed in the previous slide, 25% of private schools are catering around 290 to 300 number of students in each school. Similarly, in the case of India too, around 23% of around 23% of private schools is catering around 271 students per school, whereas 75% of government schools is catering around 140 students, 140 up to 140 students per school. So here we can see that this is a clear-cut analysis even with the data of Power BI. So even in case of government schools too, out of 248 million number of Indian students, around 153 million students are studying in government and 90 million in private. But here we can see the whole of India has net enrollment of less number of students in private compared to Andhra Pradesh. Andhra Pradesh has more number of students enrolling in private schools compared to the rest of India too. In order to perform the data analysis, we need to write the following DAX measures as shown here. So the DAX measures which I have written here apply similar to India too. I have written the DAX measures pertaining to Andhra Pradesh government. So the similar measures can be employed for India too by replacing the name of India in place of AP, because we have created tables in a similar way. Till now, we have discussed about the different number of schools as well as total number of students, the total students in government as well as private, student enrollment ratio, student to school ratio of government as well as private schools in India as well as AP. From now, we are going to discuss about the state of digital infrastructure in all the above said schools. So, in UDS Plus report, we have around 173 pages, and out of this, we collect only the data which is required for us in analyzing of the digital infrastructure. In doing so, we have around 11 tables with 11 parameters, which gives different data about projectors, PCs, tablets, notebooks, internet. All the necessary data of these 11 tables have been reduced to on a single image in Power BI. Let's take a look into it. Here we can see the 11 parameters, all the from the 11 tables of the Andhra Pradesh state digital infrastructure can be seen in this report. So out of total number of schools in a government in AP, in Andhra Pradesh state government, uh, of only government as well as government aided schools, most number of schools has internet facility, and most number of schools has computer facility, and here we can say around 36,000 schools schools for pedagogical purpose. Pedagogical purpose is for purpose of teaching, for teaching in different stream subjects. It doesn't mean that schools with computer labs as well as schools with computer subjects as well as schools with tabs facilities. But most number of schools have we can see most number of schools are lagging in for having a functional integrated teaching as well as learning disability, as well as most number of schools are lagging the number of schools are lagging in digital library facility as well as functional laptop or notebook facility. These are the most important parameter as per UDIs in provision of digital infrastructure to the students of middle as well as higher level schools in government. Similarly, in the whole of India too, we can see the many states have schools with computer facility. Many states have schools with internet facility. Also, the whole of India, most of the time, the states are many schools. In most of the states, in many schools, they are lagging in provision of functional integrated teaching facility as well as in provision of digital library in schools. So, these are the key area which government has to look into it for students to get well equipped with the digital infrastructure. In addition to provision of digital infrastructure like projectors, tablets, notebooks, a dedicated ICT lab has to be present. So this presentation throws a light on the state of ICT labs infrastructure in government as well as government aided schools, because we cannot have data of private schools having these kind of labs. So here we can see that this is the table provided in UDA's report of having the total ICT labs, the total ICT functional labs in AP as well as Andhra Pradesh. Uh, we will comprehend this. We'll comprehend this in the next slide. Here we can see the total number of the total number of ICT labs of in AP, functional as well as non. The total number of schools around 46,000, out of which 11.76K are government as well as because the ICT lab will be available only for the children in the age group of around 12 to 14. So this comes under middle as well as secondary schools, and the remaining are primary schools. ICT labs for the primary schools is not mandatory, it's not the need of our to. So, and in such case, out of 11.76K, around roughly around 2,000 schools have ICT labs, which means that out of 11,000, around 11 to 12,000, only 2,000 schools have ICT labs. And out of these 2,000 schools, and 9,000 schools are roughly have no ICT labs too. And out of these 2,000 schools, only around 1,540 schools have functional ICT labs, and remaining 500 are non-functional, which means that out of 46, out of 12,000 schools, only 1,500 schools have functional ICT labs. Remaining schools have no ICT labs. So this is the area which need to be taken care of. So here we can infer that out of 10 lakh approximate, we are in the previous slide, we can, as we have seen, there are around 11,000 government schools of higher and secondary level, out of which we have around 2,000 schools having ICT labs, out of which only 1,500 are functional. This 13%, with this 13% of function AP functional ICT labs means that out of 11,000 schools, only 1,500 are schools. So which shows that the 13% of schools have functional ICT labs. Although we have 18% of schools have labs, only 13% are functional. So this 57% as well as 52% involves the total number of the total percentage of labs which are functional, and the total percentage of labs which are present. Out of total schools, the total labs are present around 57%, whereas functional is around 42% of the total labs present in the AP. So this analogy refers to similarity in case of India too. Here in case of India too, out of total number of government schools of around 458K in the middle as well as higher secondary level, only 19% are functional ICT labs. The remaining are not functional. So which means which roughly around 20%. Here we can see that in India as well as AP, around roughly around 13 to 20% of schools are equipped with ICT labs. Remaining schools have no ICT labs. So from the above analysis, we can conclude that the Andhra Pradesh as well as India are lagging are lagging in provision of ICT labs in for middle as well as higher secondary schools. The DAX measures used in order to perform the analysis can be seen here. AP functional ICT labs as well as how the lab percentage. So the similar things apply to India too. From the above, we can infer that the government, and for the it is observed that any government school to go digital, necessary infrastructure has to be present. Along with the dedicated faculty has to be present to look after the digital infrastructure and teach students. So with the current scenario of around 11,000 plus schools, only 1,500 plus schools are having ICT labs, which is close to 13%. Although the infrastructure can be improved in a phased manner, a dedicated faculty to teach students about the computer subjects, IoT of things is essential. So the current teachers are already overburdened with their subject matter things, attendance, and many other school-related activities and administrative activities. Involving them in this could be a bit cumbersome. So in this wake of our government cannot indulge an outsourcing staff to impart this kind of digital skills, because it's again a cost-effective approach, and also it lacks quality. So government can in such scenarios, government can utilize the existing technical staff from the Department of GSWS and transfer them to school and education department, impart duties as a computer as well as soft skills trainer. This means that the main purpose is like the recruitment of this DA is done via DSC, the same recruitment agency which recruits teachers. Also, the DAs are graduated and has hands-on experience of close to 5 years in state government itself, and deals with computers, applications, biometric device, IoT of things, and all the computer-related activities of state government. They have good understanding of all the basics of the computers and Excel reports. So Also, when they are important to it, they can upgrade themselves to teach advanced tech to like AI to teach students. So, these my inference. Thank you.